hours on charting every single day? Well, in this video, I'll give you 5 tips to chart faster so you can get your evenings and weekends back. I'm Mo, I'm a software engineer specializing in medical automation. I help doctors reduce burnout and save hundreds of hours a year using technology. These 5 tips will go from basic to advanced, starting with tip number 5. You've probably heard of using dot phrases to save time in your charting. For example, you could have something like dot consent get expanded into a sentence about consent, or dot discharge get expanded into another custom sentence about discharge. So dot phrases are just shortcuts that paste in common words or sentences, but you probably haven't heard of the method that I'm about to share with you. So many EMRs allow you to set up dot phrases inside of them directly. However, there are a couple of problems with this. One is that you can easily lose your list of dot phrases if your EMR gets updated or if you have to change your EMR entirely. Another problem is that they only work in the single EMR that you're using in your practice. But thankfully, there is a solution to these problems. You can use an external application like Keyboard Maestro to set up your dot phrases instead of doing it directly in your EMR. So in Keyboard Maestro, I have a couple. So one is dot consent. It inserts this text here. Another is dot discharge. And you can make as many of these as you want. And the advantage of doing it in an external application like Keyboard Maestro is that these dot phrases will now work across any application. So they'll work in any EMR, they'll work in your notes, in your email. So here's an example inside of a Google Doc, dot consent, dot discharge. They work in these applications, any website. So you never have to fear losing your dot phrases because they'll be stored outside of your EMR. They'll work regardless of updates and so on. Now, dot phrases can be very useful in certain circumstances, but ideally you actually don't have to use them at all. That brings us to tip number 4, which is to use an AI medical scribe. Now, this tip will help you save multiple hours a day on your charts. Now, the way that AI scribes work is that they capture your conversations with a patient. So here's Freed AI, which is a simple one for SOAP notes. Another example is Heidi AI, which can also record your conversations. There's one called Deep Cure. There are a ton of different examples of these. They basically listen to your conversations and then transcribe that conversation and type up all of your chart notes for you. So you don't have to do any manual typing. You just have to review the chart notes for accuracy and make sure that everything is correct. And then you can copy that text directly and put it straight into your EMR. Now, because there are so many different AI scribes, I recommend doing your own research. There's a website called bestaiscribe.com, which has a list of many dozens of AI scribes. So you can search and filter for features depending on your exact needs and get this set up very quickly in your workflow. By the way, if this sort of thing is useful and you want me to personally help you eliminate hundreds of hours of frustrating charting a year, I run a program to help doctors do just that using AI automation tools. You can book a free call with me using the top link in the description below to start saving hours every week. Alright, but once you have an AI scribe set up, you're ready for tip number 3, which is to use AI pre-charting. So this feature is directly built into many AI scribe technologies. So here's an example of what it looks like within Freed. So we had this patient come in for chest pain, and let's say we're ready for a new visit, which might be, days or weeks later. We can search for that same patient, and here it will show us a summary of insights from all of the past visits of that patient. So their medical history, whether they're on any medications, all of those notes will be included in this pre-chart, which can save a ton of time and help you be more prepared when you actually enter the room and talk to the patient. If you have any specific questions, you actually can ask an AI directly. So let's say we want to know about the medical history of this patient, and it tells us that the patient only has occasional heartburn. There's no other chronic medical conditions documented. Or maybe you're in the room with the patient itself, you need to quickly reference something from their medical history without needing to dig through their chart. Then you can just ask a question, either type it in directly or select one of these pre-built prompts to the pre-charting AI. Okay, tip number 2 to save even more time on your charting is to integrate one of these AI softwares directly into your EMR. So that looks like this. Heidi AI is one of the examples I showed. Whenever you're in a chart, it will show you these little yellow boxes and you can select a section to insert. So if I click subjective, you can see it pastes in the objective statement for this patient. I can do a similar process for the assessment, for example. You can see it pastes in all of those AI generated notes directly into the EMR. To show you another example, here's what it looks like with Freed. You click the browser extension up here and then push to EHR, and then that inserts your chart notes directly into all of the relevant sections. So a ton of different AI scribes will have features like this. Some of them require your IT department to integrate it directly with the EMR, while others like Freed or Heidi will have browser extensions that allow you to insert the chart notes directly into your EMR without needing to set up anything fancy on the back end. However, the ones that rely on browser extensions will only work with web-based EMRs, so that's something to keep in mind. However, these integrations will save you a bunch of time since you won't need to copy and paste your chart notes from the AI scribe directly. It will insert everything straight into your chart itself. Now, some of these AI programs even have information like the suggested ICD-10 codes or patient instructions, and some of them can insert that information directly into the chart as well. So depending on the features you're looking for, again, you can check out this website and search for exactly the features that you want in an AI scribe to integrate with your EMR. So by now you should already be saving a couple of hours a day on your charting. And that brings us to tip number 1, which is the most advanced of all of the tips so far. This tip is to set up custom automations to take care of everything else that an AI scribe can't do. So for example, you might have to access your EMR through a remote desktop, which, as I mentioned before, often doesn't allow for certain types of AI scribe integrations. Or maybe there are certain features that the AI software can't do, like clicking through a bunch of menus to order labs or prescriptions, things like this. However, you can use a software such as Keyboard Maestro, which we talked about in tip number 1, to actually control your computer and set up automations to do those mouse clicks and keystrokes for you without you needing to touch your keyboard and mouse at all. So these softwares do take some time to learn and set up, but they're totally worth it once you get the automations up and running, since you won't have to do any more manual keystrokes or mouse clicks. So if you implement all 5 tips from this video, you should start saving multiple hours a day on your charting. Check out this video next, where I talk about 5 game-changing AI tools to save you even more time in your practice. Thanks for watching.